Thank you all for joining us for this next portion of today's event. We hope you found all of your breakout sessions very informative, but right now I want to give an introduction to each of our panelists. So first we have Michael Waldrop. He is the chairman of Mayor Dyer's Veteran Advisory Council. Thank you so much, Michael. Next, we have Jim Rice, Managing Director, Supporting Strategies. Thank you so much, Jim Rice. Next, we have Tammy Elliott, VP of Career Development at Full Sail University.
Hey, everyone.
Val Nicholas, Vice President of Multicultural Initiatives, NBC News. John Scheler, VP Operations, Talent, Live Events, and Creative, WWE. And last but not least, I'd like to reintroduce our moderator for today, Brian Stann, CEO of Hire Heroes USA. Thank you so much, and I'll let you take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Caleb. All right, so as you guys know, you guys are in control. You're in the driver's seat, so whoever's going to kick us off the first question, just raise your hand, wait for the microphone, because it's important so the people on the other end of the stream, the live stream, can hear you, and then we will get started. If you have a follow-up question, I will be making sure that I have eye contact with you, but understand that as you ask a question, you may get more than one answer. So allot us the time to make sure that all the people on the panel get a chance to address your question and give you more perspective so you can get the best information possible, okay? I've already got a hand up in the air, so let's get things rolling. If we can get a microphone to this man so he can get the first question.
First of all, let me say thank you on behalf of everybody in the room for your time. I look around and I see a room full of seasoned professionals who are transitioning. I look on the stage and I see a distinguished panel full of seasoned professionals in need of helping us. What would be your best advice to a group of individuals such as ourselves who are basically starting over in a new life and a new career? Thank you.
Well, one of the things I would say, as you approach going for a new job, you know, a lot of folks they have this timetable in their head. They want it done by this time and that time. It doesn't work that way. It'll work in whenever it's supposed to happen. But the other thing is be specific about what you want to do. You know, you may think telling people, hey, I'm willing to do anything. That doesn't help me. That helps me zero, because all of a sudden I don't know where to put you. I have no idea where you can help me out. You should do your research on my company or any of the companies up here, know what we do, know where you fit, and then when you make that pitch, you come in with something specific that will help my business or help me in what I do in my business. But I'll do anything, worst answer ever.
A lot of it has to do with, this is on? Okay. And a lot of it has to do with creating action for yourself, right? So there's no monitor out there that's sitting looking at your file and saying, oh, here's going to be the next, you're now going to be a department head or you're going to be an executive officer. You sort of have to create that activity for yourself, right? And activity is going to create action on the other end. The more people you talk with, the more industries you research, the more times that you take an interview, that you're interested in that job, but that interview is like more of a practice interview for you, and you find out something, being able to confirm or deny whether that's something you like or didn't gives you a new piece of information to use in the future, right? So being as proactive as possible and creating as much activity as you can for yourself in your professional career is probably gonna help you find what it ultimately is that you want to do sooner, right? So the more you can do earlier on in the entire process, and a lot of that is just relationship building, right? Having conversations, asking people what they like about their current job, what they like about their current company, what they like about their current industry, will help you make a quicker decision about what it is that is going to be the most appropriate next step for yourself.
And Brian, if I may add too,
Please.
You know, number one, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your service to this country and keeping my family free. But you have a tremendous advantage, and you got to utilize that advantage. Less than 1/2 of 1% of our population, not even 1%, less than 1/2 puts that uniform on. And you did so, and you did so honorably. And that's a tremendous advantage that you've got to prove to employers out there. And there are many of them that see that as an advantage.
Yes, Tammy.
Thank you. I met with a military veteran from our university here, and she began to talk about how when she was in the military, she knew exactly what she needed to do every day. It was a mission to accomplish. She knew the team, she knew her orders, and she knew the outcome that was expected, and she knew when she got it right, and she knew when she didn't get it right. Right? Yeah, okay. That's very, very clear. Our students experience the same thing here. You go into a class, you learn something, then you learn it well, then you take a test, you get a score, you move on. I think as I was listening to her walk through and describe how different it felt to try and pursue anything outside of the military. It was just so confusing. And she said words like, I felt lost. I didn't know what to even do my first step. I didn't know. And she waited a long time to ask for help as well, right? And so I would like to say, in addition to all this extraordinary advice that you have already gotten, I want all of you to know that as you transition, you're going to feel lost and you're going to feel confused because you've been used to receiving orders and accomplishing that. Trying to find a job, just the pursuit itself, is just confusing. It is, so give yourself the opportunity to be confused, and then look around this room and look over in the venue and realize that there are resources to help you take that first step first, and then we take the second step. There are resources for you here to help kind of unfold that confusion. Those feelings that you have are current and real, but don't let them paralyze you. There are resources and help to help you get through that, to help you find the first step. So yes to all of this, have a plan, talk with people, all of that, but also be aware of your feelings and don't let that stall you out.
One thing to add before we get to the next question on those feelings is your attitude. Right? Remember, at the end of the day, you're interviewing because someone is building a team. So think about your own personal experiences. And people with great attitudes, you naturally want them on your team. You want them around. If you are talking to an employer about a potential opportunity, chances are you have the skills, right? Maybe you don't have the exact right skills, but if you've got a great attitude, then they're going to want you on their team because they can teach you skills. You can't teach someone a great attitude. In the military, you didn't get to pick your team. You were told who's on your team. In the civilian world, they get to pick their team. And people are out there looking to pick you. So if you go for an interview and you've got a bad attitude because you've been bounced around a little bit, you've been told this in interviews, you haven't gotten interviews, you've been told this about your resume, that attitude's going to be transparent. They're going to sense it, and they're going to say, you know what? I don't think I want that person on my team. But man, as someone who employs people, when you get someone with a great can-do attitude, when it's good and when times are bad, when things are a mess, they still have a great attitude, no way do I want to lose that person. So remember your attitude as you're looking for that opportunity and looking for the right fit. Next question right here.
You know, while we're waiting for that question, I had this kid once. We have this thing at NBC called a PAGE program, and a lot of veterans go through that as well. But I was at MSNBC, and it was on a Saturday night at 2 o'clock, and some story broke. Big story. I couldn't find any of my producers. I'm calling everywhere for them. And this kid who just started as an intern for me, he calls me from MSNBC, says, I'm here, what do you need me to do? And I immediately thought, you know what? I'm going to hire this kid. And I went to our HR people, and we were in the middle of a hiring freeze, and they said, no, you can't hire anybody. So I went back the next day. I want to hire this kid. You can't hire anybody. I went back every day for 2 weeks, and finally she said, if I let you hire him, will you leave me alone? But that was because of his attitude. I was willing to fight for him. I didn't know how good he was going to be or bad, but his attitude was so good, I wanted him on my team.
Awesome story. And if you walk into the interview with boots like that, you're getting the job.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Orlando Love, U.S. Army.
What?
Cool. Chemical. My question was, for people who's like transitioning, like when I got out, my career didn't translate into the civilian world so well. So they was told to do more education, and I'm not a school learning type of guy. Like I've tried getting certificates and stuff. So what do you do for the guy who's not good with the school, but you can put me, like in the military, like they told us to do something, they showed us how to do it, and we did it. I just kept running with it. So learning for us was on the fly, and we did it. So how do you find that job without somebody saying, no, you need 2 years experience. No, you need a certificate. No, you need at least an associate's. And I'm like, I don't do well with the basic math and English. I do well with, we're going to teach you how to do this. Go do it. That's how I know how to do it.
Excellent. Sounds like
Very
you know
constant.
you know your strengths and weaknesses. Who
Do you
wants to grab that
do you
one?
know what you want to do though? What is it?
I'm a talker. I've always, like, I did recon, that's easy, research and stuff, that's what I do. But towards when I became my corporal, my E5, I started briefing generals and stuff like that, teaching classes, doing demos. So being in front of people is not hard. I can do research, I can do a PowerPoint, and I could tell anybody. But when I try to go get that speech communications, they're like, did you go to Valencia? Do you have an associate's degree? Who have you talked to? Do you have proof of your PowerPoints? Give me 10 minutes, I can give you a PowerPoint.
You know, one of the things to think about, it doesn't matter what age you are. You've got programs like they have here at Full Sail, internships, and those kind of entry-level things where you get a chance to show somebody something. When I came out of the service, I was in armor. You know, there's no tank commander jobs out here. Hey, we need a tank commander over at NBC. No, they don't. So, but I had leadership skills. I had all of these other things, and what I did was I took an internship to show them what I could do with no cost to them, so that they get a chance to take a look at you as a person, as who you are, and then you get to show them. The trick is to get in the building. You have to get in the building, and I don't care what kind of job you have to take to get in the building, but get in the building. And once you're in the building, you can start showing people what you can do. And some people say, well, you know, I'm not taking that step down to that. Well, okay. Then there's 50,000 other people who are taking that step. One of the guys that I had last year, he was a captain in the Army, had done 12 years or something, and decided, you know what, I want to be in television. And guess where he started? He started as an intern. He didn't care about the step down. And guess what? He's working for us now.
I'm a small business owner, and my focus is on hiring veterans. And in some cases, I've taken a young Marine straight out of Fallujah, and I put him in our industry. And what's he doing today? After a little bit of investment that I made in him, he's kicking ass. He's kicking doors in. He's getting it done. And as a business owner, it's about a return on that investment.
Exactly.
You've got to go in and say, you know what? I may not have the degree that you need, but if you invest in me, if your business invests a little bit in me, the return on that investment's greater than anybody else that you can hire.
I think it also helps to find what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And you said that you're a talker, and you also said that you could do a PowerPoint presentation.
And research.
Nothing more powerful than doing a PowerPoint presentation to somebody why they should hire you.
Yeah.
The one thing to think about too is where you said your specific job doesn't translate well. There are parts of it. Think of the leadership aspects. You taught, you briefed. Talk about the processes you use to prepare those briefings, to prepare those classes. How many people did you teach? How many people did you brief? When you were briefing, how much information did you brief? What was the importance and the magnitude of the information you were giving? And all of that is very valuable because that shows responsibility, that shows discipline, that shows preparation and research skills. So you need to have all of that. So don't go into an interview or a networking opportunity with the attitude of what I did before doesn't count anymore. It absolutely does. We at Hire Heroes can help you pull that relevant information and practice communicating it in a language that anybody can understand. And that's something that we all underestimate when we're transitioning out or moving job to job. The ability to communicate our value proposition Oftentimes, we as military veterans stink at it. My first resume, awful. Looked like I was trying to get a job as a mercenary. Okay? So I stand with you in the inability to do that, but I learned, all right? We can help you with that because there are processes and things that you've done that do matter that can help get you to that meeting, tell them what you can do, and then get you in the building. And don't be afraid of taking a pay cut. I took a $20,000 a year pay cut my first job out of the military. Yeah. That happens. We all go through. You don't realize how much money you make in the military. Okay? It's not where you start at. It's where you finish. Right here. We're gonna get quicker with these microphones.
Yeah,
we gotta keep you guys in the aisles, maybe.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I am not a veteran. My husband actually was active duty and he passed away last year. When that happened, I stopped working and it's been a year, so I have a very large gap in my resume. And I'm wanting to get back into my career field and start back up again, but I don't really know how to go about doing that to explain such an emotional issue. So
if you just say what you just said, that's plenty.
Just be authentic. That's a real story, and people will hear you. You don't have to make it. It is what it is, and you deliver it so beautifully.
And we
you
get
don't have
that.
to
You
change.
just did it right there.
First of all, our condolences for your loss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that was
Yeah.
a difficult thing to go through. Do you mind if I ask what your background is?
yes, I was a producer for the ABC affiliate in San Antonio.
Okay, thank you.
And quickly before we get to the next question, we've
Good
talked a
form.
lot about veterans and active duty. It is important. There are spouses in the crowd today. Hire Heroes USA has the same level of service for military spouses as we do for military veterans because they often go through a lot of the same sacrifices. So we can work a lot. I've got several military spouses on staff who I'll make sure you get assigned to one of them. Okay? Right here, sir.
Good form, Val.
I don't know. I mean it.
See the reaction time? He's quick.
Hey, it's hard to find good people.
I first want to thank you guys for your support. I know you guys thank us a lot, but thank you guys for taking the time to being out here, as well as for recognizing us and our ability to give you guys something that you guys are looking for. My quick, it's a two-ish. You talked about internships. Hey, great idea. I'm in school, so obviously I can do an internship, but my GPA is not the greatest. I actually left, I joined the service because my GPA was a 0.94. And now it's above a 2.0.
There you go.
But every time I've looked at internships, because I'm going into school for computer engineering and cybersecurity and digital forensics, and I did administration, Intel administration for the Navy. Navy? Navy? Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. But that's where my knowledge is. So when I do a resume, that's all you see, and I have no experience in actual Intel, or in digital forensics or anything like that, which is what I'm trying to get a school into. But again, internships, they require you to have a certain GPA. So how do I get around that?
You need to, sometimes you need to show rather than say. So, for instance, when I was going through college, I didn't know anything about TV. I didn't want to be in TV. I didn't, that was the last thing I was interested in. But I was on a college paper, and our counselor said, she knew I was on the GI Bill, and I was working 2 jobs and all this. So she said, oh, local TV station has a scholarship and a paid summer job, $10,000. And I said, you know what? I don't like TV. I don't want TV. I don't watch it. $10,000 paid job. Get your ass over there. And so I went over there, and I started showing them what I could do. I actually started putting together shows and others. I had no idea how to do it. But there's stuff that you know outside that you can put together, that you can go into an interview with or send with your resume, because I would rather hire somebody who knows how to do something than somebody who has a great resume. I don't care. I want somebody who can get the job done. So sometimes it's more necessary to show rather than tell. So just attach that to it, and hopefully the smart person in HR will take a look at what you're actually doing and say, you know what? This guy may have something here. You're rolling the dice. But if you don't show something and you have the bad GPA, you're not going to get past that. You got to figure out, what I always say whenever you run into an obstacle, don't panic, plan. Come up with a plan. So if you know that's your problem and you're not going to bring that GPA up, you're not able to do that, then what's your plan to get around that?
Networking plays a big part too. You have to understand it's building relationships and working with people. And when you said cybersecurity, General Dick Miller, who's a retired Brigadier General who runs the NVBDC, the National Veteran Business Development Council, I just had coffee with him on Tuesday, and he's doing cybersecurity work. I'd give you a warm introduction. We'll meet after the event, and I'll give you my card.
The other, may I add to that? Yes. Think about a mentor. Think about a mentorship. Identify a person. Do your research. You're going to hear that so many times up here. But the reason why we say that is because if you're going to go down a road and we know that it's going to be difficult, make sure you're going down the right road. Instead of trying to hit everything, be strategic. Figure out the person I think that you just got an introduction to, and find and ask for a mentor that's doing what you want to do, and that guide can help you get around some of those barriers as you have identified that you have.
That's a huge point, because the bottom line is nobody gets anywhere by themselves, period. When I'm hiring people, I remember I was looking to hire a producer when I was in NBC Entertainment in Los Angeles. And I said, I want to put some ads in the trades and do all of that stuff. And my boss said, how many people in your career have you actually hired from an ad? And I thought about it. And he said, how do you do that? Well, I call people I know and see who's out there and who they recommend.
Yep. So and maybe just a point for to build on your point, but address the entire audience here. So the GPA is only one facet of your candidacy, right? It's only one component of one conversation that you're going to have with somebody who's looking at you to come on board your team. And similar for me, you understanding your core strengths, but also your weaknesses, and where are you going to invest your time and resources. And so if you know that you're not going to be able to necessarily compete on GPA all the time, you need to meet a certain threshold. So that's a given, and you got to get over that hurdle. But you're not. Understanding that you're never going to be the breakout star in that category is fine, because you're going to now understand that you're going to have to invest time in networking. You're going to have to nail the communication portion of the interview. You're going to have to own the room when you show up, so people come back and say, oh my gosh, all these stats aside, that kid had the charisma that I want to bring onto my team. And so it's the same thing, whether you're applying for something or anything else, understand where you are going to be, understand where your time is going to be best spent, so you can leverage those skills instead of sort of reinvesting in areas that are always going to be more challenging for you, if that kind of makes sense.
And I hate to regress, but this almost goes back to question one. I mean, the internet plays a crucial role. When you're doing your due diligence on the organization, it's equally important to do your due diligence on who you're interviewing with.
Exactly right.
And you have to do your research, and you need to find that hopefully there's a commonality or a common ground that you can relate to. But, obviously education is one small part of the whole process.
I was doing a deal once, and I did my homework on the guy that I was going to do this deal with over at CBS, and I found out in doing my research he was a New England Patriots fan. So the first thing I walked in, I said, hey, what do you think Brady's going to do this year? He went 20 minutes on the Patriots. Ice was broken.
Yep.
It was an easy conversation after that. Do your homework.
And that's big, because with a low GPA, right, one of the concerns that they're going to see is, will he do the hard work? Great personality. He's going to do well in a room. People are going to like him. But will he do the detailed analytical work we need him to do, cybersecurity stuff? Will he do the small stuff? You walk in there doing the research. That shows them that you're willing to do that.
Absolutely.
You had a second part here to it.
Yeah. So you guys are talking about getting into that interview, talking to that interviewer, talking to that company, and this and that. Why not? But I have put resumes in.
Now, you've already got the answer to this question. You just networked with this guy. That's how you get past that. You have to network. You have to know somebody.
All right.
You already know the answer to it now.
We'll help you out with the resume. You need to pick out some of the really unique things about your service, and they need to be on there because you're going to have people that apply that just have a college degree with a really good GPA, and then you're going to have you applying who has some really unique experiences that maybe not as high a GPA, but wait a minute, this person has life experience that I'm after. That's who you're competing against. That'll help.
But, you know, you've got groups like this that is available to you that will get you past roadblocks. That's what they do for a living. And he said it at the very beginning, do not try to do this on your own. No. Nobody gets anywhere on their own, ever. Never happened.
You need to also remember that recruiters are looking at certain keywords. There's even software applications
we
that are
use
screening your
algorithms.
resumes.
Yep.
And you need to look at the job description and make sure that your resume, you might have 5 or 8 different resumes depending on job descriptions that you need to go. It's very important, and you don't want the shotgun effect. You have to have laser focus.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure you're doing your due diligence on the organization. Look for those keywords, put it into your resume. That could be your problem why you're not getting the call back. There's very few % that are actually getting called.
That's
and
true.
you need to make sure you're at the head of the list.
We use, at NBC, we use algorithms that weed out, you know, when we get 10,000 resumes.
Sure.
If there aren't certain words in that resume, it's automatically weeded out. So you got to understand us to get to us.
Yeah, right over here, Michelle. Oh.
Hi guys, thank you for joining us today. I have a few questions from our online viewers.
Sure.
First, we have a Full Sail graduate, Anthony Raposa, who was in the Army Aviation Specialist. His question is, someone with a military degree and with a military background and a degree, why do they always have such a hard time getting their foot into the door? They have multiple experience, they have a lot of background. Why are they finding it so hard?
Inability to communicate their value because they look back, the experiences they have are rich, but if you say it in a military language, then nobody outside of the military can understand what you're talking about. I'm going to let the panel expound on that, but that's the obvious answer.
To build on that point too, like when I see, and I'm coming from 5 years of active duty in the Marine Corps, and if I see a resume,
Some devil dogs out there.
50% of the panel are devil dogs.
But if I see a resume that has too much jargon in it, I already know it's going to require so much effort on my part to have to retrain, and then to retrain this individual to fit into a new organizational culture. But not only and that might be a one-on-one investment with that individual. But now I have to convince my other colleagues on the team
Who have no idea.
Who have no idea what this guy or girl is coming from about like what value they can create. So if that communication and that investment doesn't happen on the veterans end to start with, then it's already sort of, that just needs to be step one when you're making that transition.
Important safety tip, drop the acronyms. I know we love acronyms in the military. Nobody outside the military knows what the hell you're talking about. Drop them. It's a waste of time because they look at it and it might as well be in another language and you're going to just get thrown on the floor.
And it's rehearsal, rehearsal, rehearsal too. So when I was transitioning off active duty, I had like a 30-second pitch for myself. Depending on the situation, you want to have like different ways to pitch your case. A variety of different rooms. Like if I had one opportunity to go in for an interview and I met Val in an elevator and I recognized him, I might get an impression from just like observing with him, he's only got 30 seconds of brain time to like allocate to John, right? So I better give Val my best 30-second pitch on myself. And that 30-second pitch better translate really well for an NBC executive, not somebody who just got off a boat or just got off an Amtrak or just jumped off a tank, right? So I would always have like a 30-second pitch, a 3-minute pitch, a 5-minute pitch.
Great.
you rehearse it, but you rehearse it with people that aren't in the military, right? You rehearse it with a spouse who might be close with you, or
And
or
we'll
a partner.
give you honest answers.
And it's going to give you honest answer, and then pitch it to somebody who has zero experience with the military. Like, go hang out where there's no veterans, whatever that place would be in Florida. I'm not exactly sure right now. We could think of some
little
ideas.
spot somewhere.
But like, get those friends in your network to be like, hey, I'm going in for this interview. Let me pitch this to you. Have them record it on their iPhone even.
So you can see
and
it.
watch how you come across in video, right? And listen to yourself, how you communicate, what you say. Where did your message fall off? Did you lose people's attention, or did they end up like leaning forward and getting really into what you were saying? So just some.
And we had talked
high-level
about
thoughts.
this earlier that I'm going to share with you. Also, what tends to happen is you get in a room with somebody and you're doing your pitch, but you're watching yourself do your pitch. You're one stage removed from making that sort of connection with that person, because you're trying to watch yourself for mistakes and all that other stuff. Then you're not in the moment anymore.
Yeah.
You can't be both places. So stay in the moment. Stay here, eyes to eyes.
I gotcha.
See?
We're going to go right up here, and then Michelle, after that, we're going to come down here to the front. We've got a whole group right here with their hands up. Hey,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, we haven't done anything this side.
He's got me covered right here. Thank you. Right here. He's already got his mic ready to go, and then we'll come right over here.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you for doing this today. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, John. My name is Patrick Wojtek, and I'm a former United States Marine.
Number 5.
Good.
There we go.
So recently, I just graduated from Full Sail with the Advanced Achievement Award, and we went to a local studio, which was Park Studio or Painted Black Studio. And we reopened that spot, and it's a 5,600 square foot total studio with a 1,600 square foot live room. So what we're looking for is like corporate jobs to do. So how would you reach out in that respect in order to get those types of jobs to come into our studio?
Wow, can I go?
Yes, please.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I've already heard about you, and it's so awesome to meet you and to connect that. Congratulations. For those of you, this graduate has taken one of our very first studios in which we started teaching 1 million years ago, when the classes here were like 7 people. And we didn't have these facilities. So how do you teach audio engineering? You rent out a studio and you teach it in that studio. You got that space, and now you have your own business.
Outstanding.
That's extraordinary. First of all, I want to introduce you to my new friend, Rick here.
No, Jim.
Jim here.
The other new friend.
The other new friend. Aren't you doing something with entrepreneurs and veterans and that kind of thing?
Yeah, let me touch base on it. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Business, but we are a relatively new organization. We're a 501c6 nonprofit. Michael Waldrop is actually the founder, previous chairman, and I took over the chair this year. We would love to help and work with you and help guide you. For a young organization, we're growing. We're trying to help veteran entrepreneurs, and we're actually we're breaking out an educational committee to help transitioning vets that are looking want to become entrepreneurs. And even if you're not want to be an entrepreneur, but you want to be part of our organization, we would love to have you, because as businesses grow, they're going to hire veterans, and that's for sure. So. If you're not familiar with our website or our organization, please go to www.favob.net or org, please.
Awesome. We've got a bunch of hands up, guys. We got a bunch of hands up, so I want to try and get some.
Hey, can you do the
respell
website again?
FAVOB, Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses.
You guys should all be writing that down.
.org.
Org or net. .org or net.
All right.
Got a guy.
Here we go.
And I am Shane Nassy. I am the Veteran Student Union Vice President here at Full Sail University. So my question is more of a personal question, so to speak, than career advice. And the reason being is because, like most of you veterans in here, I keep running into the same problem where my ambition supersedes what I can put down on paper, right? And so that's why I'm in college. My question, though, is how do you balance happiness, your need to fulfill a salary cap and also maintaining a level of professionalism that doesn't come off as arrogant, so to speak. Because I was in the military, I was over people, obviously. So that sort of abruptness comes out very often.
I truly believe that there's a reason why we're all here. There's a reason why our organizations exist. And when you hang up that uniform, your service to your community is not over. It's just beginning. And you got to find a sense of purpose in your life. That could be serving your local firefighters, your local libraries. It could be, in my capacity, it's the veteran community. My purpose in life, the reason why I'm here is to serve the veteran community. And that's easy for us to adopt. And we've got to band together like brothers and sisters to do so if we're going to make any meaningful impact, because me by myself ain't going to cut it. So purpose. And sometimes you got to give that some serious prayerful thought of what your purpose in this world is, and service is a part of it.
Another thing I'm going to add is patience.
Yeah.
Right? You talk about ambition, salary needs. There's what you want and what you've earned, right? And if you want to get paid what you want, you've got to go earn it. There's nobody out there that's just going to go lay down money based on what you tell them you can do.
Yeah,
Val said a key word several times. Go show them. Have patience. One of the complaints we get from some companies we work with in hiring veterans is, well, some of these men and women come out and have a sense of entitlement. They feel like we owe them this amount of money or these opportunities right away.
Nobody owes you anything.
We got to go
earn it.
And I'm not saying that's what you're dealing with. I get where you're coming from. But I would just say the patience, when you get the opportunity to show them, you blow their hair back.
You know,
and it may take you a couple years, but blow their hair back and it will come.
One of the things that happens that I see all the time with people, and it happened to me when I was coming up in my career, is in your head, you have a calendar of where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. And then when you don't hit it, you go crazy. You feel awful. I'm a failure. Blah. And guess what? That calendar is made up. You made it up. You're putting that pressure on yourself. Nobody said you have to hit it at this time or do this at that time. You did. And if you made that calendar, you can adjust that calendar to what the reality is. But no matter what calendar's in your head, life doesn't care. Things will happen when it's supposed to happen and when you've earned it.
What I liked about your question was like I could sense your sincerity in like what you were saying, and I think your ambition is like really, it's real, and I could like feel it just by your presence up there. I think it's good. I think you need to couple it with humility, like using phrases like "I was over somebody" or like that's not necessarily going to translate well into like the workplace. But I like your sincerity. I think we need to like complement it with some of the humility I probably know you have with your background. And to build on like Val's point, like the timeline depends on your perspective and where you want to go like long term. Think about making a short-term investment that might really challenge you as an individual with a sense of humility or what you think like your personal expectations are. Challenge yourself to make that short-term investment. Maybe it's a year in a certain role or 6 months to give you a certain level of skill set because you think the payoff's going to be 5 years down the line. The first real internship that I put on my resume was working at a financial services firm, unpaid. I showed up and I called a variety of different people, and this is back before there were cold calling laws, and I would make 300 cold calls a day to potential clients in a sales region, just like nail on the phone all day, like in the movie, like you would see in the movie. And to compensate me for the unpaid internship that I worked in the day, I went and worked in like my local mall at night. And I was making minimum wage and I was moving boxes from like one store brand that was changing to another store brand. So I was working at nights to pay for the unpaid internship in the day. And I know everybody's in a different, I have 3 kids, there's different, I get your point about the salary cap, and that might not necessarily be for everybody. But you can also think about, I'm making an investment with this role now because I know that the horizon is going to be a whole lot brighter for me a few years from now. Even in my last role at a different company, like I spent 6 months, this was after I was a captain in the Marine Corps and I had gone on to like graduate school, and now I'm in a role like a large company. And I the individual that I worked most closely with was a young analyst, and I basically considered that guy my A gunner, right? If it's talking in like Marine Corps patrolling terms here. That kid, I did work for that kid who was an analyst maybe 2 or 3 years out of undergrad, but he was the subject matter expert in what we needed to do for our clients. And I had all this experience, et cetera, but I needed to learn from him, but there were things that he was gonna learn from me that were gonna help him with his career. And you're gonna be able to do that same thing once you find that partner within the organization if you're thinking about that long-term investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep going with it, because I like what you guys were saying. And time is money, and money is time as well. I guess the thing that I want to key on was not running into the entry-level position over and over and over again. Because you guys say, show me, but when you try to show someone, you'll have to start over again every single time. So when you said that the gentleman wasn't supposed to expect certain things, that's mainly what I'm getting at, is my ambition exceeds what I can put on paper, but I can do everything that is asked of me.
The thing that you got to remember, even if you're starting over at an entry level or whatever it is, you get paid, you get your salary for doing a good job, whatever the job is, for doing a good job. If you're not doing a good job, you're going to get fired. But you don't get promoted, you don't get more money, you don't get more responsibility unless you do stuff beyond your regular job, unless you show people something else that you're capable of. Just doing your job well gets you a paycheck.
Yeah.
Going above and beyond your job gets you that promotion. When I was at MSNBC, I was running marketing for those guys, and I happened to be at a thing like this. And I ended up sitting next to the president of NBC News. And this was 2008, and Barack Obama was just taking off. And I turned to him and I said, hey, Steve, I got a question. Why don't we have a DVD out called Yes We Can, the Barack Obama story? Everybody seems to love this guy. And he said, we've done those. We did it with Princess Diana. We did it with the Pope. They sell about 300, not worth the work. And I said, you know what? I'm at MSNBC. I already got a Barack Obama show, an hour. I'll just drop in a bunch of election stuff, take maybe a week and $2,000. He said, oh, yeah, okay, go ahead and do it. And we did the thing, and in the first week, we sold 100,000 of those for $19.99 each. Now, I'm not an MBA, but I can do that math. And then afterwards, he called me in and he said, why aren't you working for me? I wasn't working for that guy. I just showed him what I could do.
I think it's very important. You never want to get caught up in just your job description, and I've heard it so many times. That's not my job. You know, you need to excel. You need to go above and beyond. In a sense, you got to drink the Jimmy Jones Kool-Aid. You got to believe in what you're doing and move forward.
Hopefully the end won't be.
Crazy.
You'll get a different result than that.
This gentleman's had his hand up for a while. His shoulder's starting to get tired.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Henry. My name is Henry, former U.S. Army.
Cool.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the panel, the organization, and its partners for giving us veterans here the opportunity to network. So I think everybody should give them a round of applause at least. Now, I'm gonna be real. I've never heard of Hire Heroes. I've never heard. This is my first time hearing about it. But already, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of help that's been given here. So my curiosity is struck. So my question here is to Mr. Brian Stann, former U.S. Marine officer, awarded a Silver Star. You debuted in the UFC. I used to watch you fight against Levin, Santiago, some of the greats, Bisping, Silva. So I'm a fan of yours.
Thank you.
Your resume is obviously astounding. It's kind of like a personal question, I believe. What was your reason for heading as CEO and president of Hire Heroes? Was there something that you went through from transitioning from military to UFC to even the civilian? There's something, to me, I think that you had to go through for you to even deal with the veterans here.
Certainly. Two things, and one, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. There are over 40,000 military nonprofits in the country, so it is very confusing. I would tell you less than 10 of them are any good.
Yeah, I agree.
So do your evaluation, do your homework. There's good ratings and good ways to look at their financials. Make sure you get the real help that you deserve. Two things. One, my own personal transition. I went from leading a company of 950 Marines and sailors. I got a job in business development. I was sitting next to a 24-year-old kid, and they sent me 2 long lists on Excel and said, look for duplicate names. I said, wow. And I got the job because the CEO of the company watched me fight and thought my story was incredible and said, man, all these guys here that have MBAs from Harvard and Wharton can learn something from him. I want him on my team. So he recruited me, put me into the job, and then he was the CEO. I never saw him. But they didn't value my input. They didn't value my experience. They didn't invite me to conference calls or meetings. They just stuck me there on my own, not knowing exactly what was going on. And so I made the mistake of not taking the initiative and introducing myself, shaking hands, smiling, showing that I was more than just a military veteran. That process, coupled with survivor's guilt, I felt very guilty. I loved leading Marines. I loved being an infantry officer. But I loved my little girls more, and I was starting to build a family, and I wanted to be home for them because I never had a dad. So that was my choice, but I knew that I still had Marines out there serving every single day, and that I had a lot of Marines that I lost on the battlefield that I still owed. I didn't owe them me being sad and crying about I lost Marines and I've seen bad things. I owed them to win and succeed and do something to give back to them. So that's why I'm here. And I'm glad you like the help you've been given. And like I said earlier, a lot of these questions, a lot of these problems you guys are having, we can help you address them. Together, we can overcome them. So make sure you use us. Okay? You may get sick of us calling you, but if you don't answer, we've got to move on and help other people, right? So make sure you use us. And sometimes we get people that register, they get great things from us, and then they just go off on their own. Use us until you're done, until you're in that position that you love.
Out of those 40,000 groups, the 10 that are really good, this is in that 10, no doubt. If you don't use this group, then you're missing a huge opportunity. The other thing to remember, because eventually you guys are not going to be sitting in this room, you're going to have a job and you're going to do that stuff. People ask me at NBC, why are you doing all this stuff with veterans? I know you're a veteran and stuff, but you got a heavy job doing NBC News. We raised our hand. We said we would defend the country. But more importantly, we said we would never leave anyone behind. And as far as I know, none of us put our hand back down. So we owe that. I was telling these folks in the other room that remember this when you make it, and you will. The fact that you're here tells me you will. Once you get to the top, Kevin Spacey said this, the actor. He said, if you're fortunate enough to make it to the top, you have an obligation to send the elevator back down. Yes. So when you get out of this and into your job, remember what happened here and make sure you pay that forward.
Awesome. Absolutely. Awesome. Who's got yes, please. You already got the mic.
Get the mic.
How you doing? Darren Frazier, submarine vet in the U.S. Navy. So my question comes with a backstory. I'm a 13-year sub vet, so I've been on submarines pretty much my whole career. You're with a collective community, people from the beginning till the end. So my question is dealing with the outside of the civilian aspect, soft skills. So we all thrive from different aspects of work. We're hammering bombs to boots on ground so we have a certain set of skills, soft skills, to understand how to communicate and articulate ourselves with other people in the work area. My question is, for those that don't thrive in other sets, what's the best way or best advice to try and polish those other types of soft skills for when you're in the environment in which you wasn't working in large groups, or you had to be the one to authoritate certain type of tasks to different types of people? You may not have that type of skill or trait that you grew up with.
She said it earlier, mentor. Having somebody that can help guide your way. You're not going to those kind of skills, if you try to learn them on the job and you're unsuccessful at it, you're going to be gone. So you're going to need somebody to say, and I had this, because when I came out of the service, I was a hard driving, get it done, get my team done, and people were like, whoa. And I had a mentor who said, Val, come here. Calm down. Just calm down. We'll get it done. These people don't need that. You're not in the military anymore. But having somebody that can teach you those kind of soft skills, that will help. But you're not going to just learn them on the job.
You should focus on putting yourself in uncomfortable situations constantly. Like, take yourself out of your comfort zone. And one of the things I had to do especially was put yourself like 2 or 3 steps beyond where you think you're capable now. So if you're not comfortable being in a networking situation or like having dinner with somebody in like a business context, you need to like go and do those things.
Force yourself.
Because you need to fail a couple times in order to get really successful. And I think one of the things, especially is coming from the military, you put up sort of like you put on your body armor, or you put on your like dress blues or whatever they are, and you're trying to always be perfect, because failure is so tangible, and there's nothing worse than like losing a colleague, right? So failure has huge ramifications in the military. It's a little bit different in the private sector, right? Some of the most successful companies in the world are going to try and iterate on a variety of different things, and they're going to fail a bunch of times.
Amazon,
right? They're going to
Google.
get tons of no's. Exactly. They're going to get tons of no's before they get a yes. Same thing with like trying for a new job, right? I had a ton of no's, right? From colleges, from grad schools, from jobs,
Me too.
from people I interviewed with who fell asleep opposite me in the interview, and I was like, I'm doing something wrong if that guy is literally falling asleep in this interview. But like, guess what? Like, my interview, my like 5th interview, the 5th one after that was a whole lot better. And so unless you fail a couple times and you get that failure out of your system, that's going to set you up for success. And then you realize failure isn't that big of a deal. Back to that internship, like making 300 cold calls a day, I got really good at talking to people on the phone, because I used to be, a certain way previously, and maybe I was like a lot more anxious or something, but like I learned to have, whatever you want to call it, like dinosaur skin on like the phone, because I wasn't afraid for people to tell me no.
No, yeah.
Right? So put yourself out of your comfort zone. Forget about always trying to be perfect, and push yourself to the point where you start tripping over yourself a little bit, because then you're challenging yourself in a meaningful way.
He put me to sleep the first time I met him.
I like what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
I like exactly what John said.
We've got someone up here who's got a question. She's been waiting a little bit, and then we're going to come back down here because I know you have the microphone as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. We have enough time for one more question, and following her question, that will be our last question for the panelists.
We'll be around. We'll be
We're going
around.
to follow you over.
Hi. First of all, I would like to thank you for your insight in this type of real talk. My name is LaVon, and I'm a wife of a naval vet. My husband did 20 years in the Navy.
Yeah.
I was a homemaker for 20 years, raising our children, and we have grandkids now. And my question is somewhat out of frustration. A lot of programs are for our vets. And I spent a lot of time helping, supporting my husband and pushing him along the way. And then once our kids kind of started getting older, I told my husband, well, it's my turn. I wanted, to get out there in the workforce and help with some of the income that was needed, in our household. When in reality, a lot of doors were being slammed in my face because I have gaps in my employment, or I just didn't have relevant experience. So I've done all of the things that you're suggesting. I've catered my resume to so many companies, and we had so much help. But the military spouse really takes a slap in the face for helping her husband and blessing the family, but no one's interested in me.
Wow.
So it's kind of hard.
Not no one. We're, there's, all of us up here know companies. It depends on the company. At Comcast NBC, we're hiring 10,000 veterans and military spouses as we speak. So see me afterwards.
There are a lot of new initiatives to address this issue. That issue is starting to come to light as of recent. And so, like I told the woman before, definitely we will set you up. We'll set you up with a fellow military spouse, and there's things we can do to help you. Excellent. Okay. I know we've got one more question, but trust me, guys, when this is over at the networking event, everybody's going to be available, okay? Please.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Johnson, U.S. Navy. I was listening to everybody about barriers to career, in terms of resumes and stuff like that. But I think sometimes we forget that there are a lot of wounds that we as veterans have that are not seen.
Absolutely.
Such as mental health and PTSD and depression and things of that nature. Me personally, I suffer from some of those things. And I feel like because I may not be able to cope with certain things in the work environment the way that other people may, that I'm kind of looked down on, oh, she's crazy and stuff like that. Or it takes forever to get seen by a psychologist at the VA, or they pump you up with medication that have you disoriented and tired and sleepy all the time. And they say, oh, well, you just need to do this and just need to do that. But it's like, for me, I'm trying to accelerate my career, but a real part of my life is mental health issues. And I'm sure a lot of us in here suffer from that type of stuff as well. So how do we overcome that and not a negative stigma be placed on somebody like me who may have an anxiety attack at work because of something, personal or related to the military? Like, I feel like overlooked a lot of the times, like, because of mental health issues, some of which a lot of times I don't disclose on job applications because you're afraid that people are gonna overlook you. Like, is there anything that can help somebody like us? I know a lot of people, we have scars that people can't see, that are even barriers, even like self-esteem barriers, to employment and things of that nature. I know I have the skills, but it's the other aspect of the person, who's not always able to fit in and, excel in stuff.
Write this down. The organization one of the ones that I help work on is gotyour6.org. We have a group within Got Your Six called Give an Hour, giveanhour.org. And Give an Hour is made up of 6,000 or 7,000 mental health professionals across the country. Wherever you are, Give an Hour will find one in your area, and it's free.
I'll give you another resource too, the Camaraderie Foundation, which is a 501c3 that's local here. They provide mental health support and counseling locally, but through the private sector, without the medication and without the long waits. It's immediate access to care that's paid for 100% for not only the military member and the veteran, but the spouse and the children as well. And so there are resources out there.
And don't forget these guys.
We'll
they know everybody.
And the biggest thing for you personally is to make the choice. And that's what you're here for, right? You're choosing to get past it. Yeah. You're choosing not to let it beat you, right? Just because it's happened before doesn't mean it has to happen. What do you need to get yourself in the best state to go provide value and perform? And by doing that, you will be able to go and deliver value for those employers. And you're right not to disclose it. That's none of their business during a job interview and on a job application. You don't have to disclose that, right? But you know your strengths, just like you know your weaknesses, right? And we all have to plan for those so that we can deliver the best value in our professional life and our personal life and our spiritual life every single day. So you know that. There's resources out there. Utilize them at the same time you're utilizing the resource to help you find a job, but then don't stop once you have the job. Utilize the resources you need to keep yourself mentally healthy and overcome these issues holding you back right now, and I promise you, you will win. You will win, but it's that initial choice, right? And you've already made it. It's more courageous to say, hey, I've got an issue I need help with, than it's not courageous to say, hey, I'm not going to tell you, I'm just going to deal with it myself, right? So you've already taken the first step.
And talk about strength. You just stood up in front of 120 people and told your story.
Yep, absolutely.
Most
people could not do that.
Nope. Absolutely.
And most of us, at one time or another, just like his survivor guilt, I ended up in therapy over that as well. And I tried to do it myself for years and years and years, and about every 10 years, I would collapse with depression for a couple of weeks. I couldn't even move until I got some help. Some help.
Just 2 weeks ago, I met a young gentleman at one of our FAVOB networking events. His name is Jose Belin. Are you here, Jose? If you are, please raise your hand. I don't see him. I'll give you a warm introduction. He has a very similar story of things how he's overcome, and he's just actually had a video on Facebook, but I'll give you a warm introduction to him as well. He's local.
I know we got to close it out, but I'm going to give you a 20-second thing that will settle you down when you're getting ready to do interviews and stuff. First thing, remember, if your hand's all clammy, you don't want to shake hands. So the trick on that is as you stand up, and that takes care of that. Now, the other thing is,
I like the draw method, really.
You need to be
It's all right.
calm.
It's just me.
You need to calm down. You need to get centered. And this is a 20-second thing that I do every time I go to the gym or whatever. I used to teach martial arts, so I used to teach this. Takes about 20 seconds. Put down your pens. Put down everything. Sit back, relax, unfold your arms, those of you with folded arms. Close your eyes. Relax. Now think about something that went really good for you today. Went really great. At home, at work, here, doesn't matter. Just went terrific. Now think about something that didn't go so well. At work, at home, looking for a job. It just didn't go the way you wanted it to go. Now think about what you're going to do to change that. How are you going to fix that? How are you going to make sure that doesn't happen again? What are you going to do? And the last thing, think about one thing in your life that you are so grateful for. Why you do this, why you're here, why you keep busting your ass trying to get somewhere. What is that one thing that you appreciate so much? Now open your eyes. What you did, you gave yourself credit for something, which most people don't do. We always look at the stuff that we screwed up, nothing that we do well. That's the first thing you did. Secondly, you identified one problem and came up with a solution. You can't fix all the problems at once, so pick them one at a time. And third, if it's your family or whatever it is, you remember why you're doing that stuff. Takes about 20 seconds, centers you, you're ready to go do that interview.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all of the veteran spouses that this information is super appreciated and will be utilized. But before we move on to the next portion of the event, I did want to ask each one of you, although I think you just did it, to give one last piece of advice as they go through transitioning into their careers.
We've talked a lot about jobs, but veterans make incredible entrepreneurs. And you may have that passion and you may have that purpose and you may be laser focused on employment. Why don't you go make your own employment?
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a great opportunity out there. FAVOB's doing it, making opportunities. The federal government's got opportunities. The state has opportunities. We just recently went to the city of Orlando, Orange County government, the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, and Orange County Public Schools, and created veteran small business programs with all 4 of them. And you know what? What do they buy? They buy every service and every product known to man. There's an incredible opportunity for you to be your own boss and to be your own entrepreneur, and I'd love to see you get there.
Absolutely, thank you. And I'd give you this a little bit of advice. Don't give up. You know, believe in yourself. It's going to be a hard road. You know, when I first got out, I was lost. I was trying to figure out what I was doing. I worked 3 jobs to help my wife and my kids. I actually bootstrapped 3 successful businesses. So I love being that entrepreneur. And if I can have you maybe look at one quote that I find comfort in, and it's by Teddy Roosevelt, it's The Man in the Arena. So if you're not familiar with it, look it up. I think you'll like it.
Go easy on you. You have a lot of drive. You have a lot of ambition. You've done so many things. Adjust. Give yourself time to adjust to this new language, this new world, these new pathways. Go easy. Go easy. Look at your life in seasons. This is one season. It's not the rest of your life. And I will say the same thing. Count your blessings. Be grateful. There are things that we can be grateful for every day, even in the hardest day. And that always lifts me up to count my blessings.
2 words. Stay nimble. I have it on my computer. I have it taped to my computer at home and at work. Stay nimble. You may be focused on this, but something good may be happening over here or over here. Stay nimble enough to see everything and be ready to jump if you have to. And sometimes you're going to jump, like we said earlier, you're going to jump and take a pay cut or from senior vice president to director. Who cares? If you love what you're doing and you're staying nimble, you'll keep moving. But just stay nimble. Always stay nimble. You were that way in the military. Be that way out here.
Right. And I guess, first off, some of the best people that you're going to have in this process are like to your left and your right now. And thank you for Full Sail for putting together like this entire panel. Hire heroes. All those rehearsals, all those referrals, all that networking, like the people to your left and right are going to be invested in your success, and if you're invested in theirs, that like has already created like a ton of value. And maybe just one of the things that I learned during my transition that I'd share with is like you want to think about, people are going to have a set of expectations of what they expect about a veteran, right? That you're like really determined, that you're probably a good leader. But maybe it's that you're stubborn or that you're really authoritarian. You need to like surprise somebody to upside. Show them your creativity. Show them your charisma. Show them like the leadership attributes that they don't commonly associate with what it is that they perceive the military to be, and surprise them on that, because they're going to give you credit for all that stuff. Yeah, you can work in like austere environments, and you're going to give me 100% all the time. And you're probably going to be a good mentor to like my junior employees, but surprise them on the things that they might not anticipate. The Intel analysts who talked in here, oh, hey, I took a bunch of analysis from a variety of different sources, condensed it down, and then pitched it back to an admiral or a general. Oh, shoot, like I didn't realize people were 18 years old doing that. That's awesome. I want that kid on my team. Like, surprise people to the upside and give them the qualities that they don't normally anticipate like vets have, so.
Last thing, have a great attitude and smile. A lot of the stereotypes about us veterans can be overcome just simply by shaking someone's hand and smiling and breaking down that barrier. Don't wait for them to do it for you. Have a great attitude. You're going to leave this room. You're going to get the opportunity to network with companies that have positions to fill. Have a memorable attitude. No matter what's going on in your life, you just closed your eyes, you just recentered yourself. Go have a great attitude and make them realize, hey, may not have the exact skills or experience you're looking for, but I can learn them, and I've got a great attitude. You can't teach me to have a great attitude. That comes naturally.
Yeah, and when you go talk to these guys after this, make sure that you're having a conversation. You're not just reading your resume to them. That's not establishing any sort of relationship. Everybody can read their resume.
One final thing, for those of you that have a medical background, tomorrow night at the Citrus Club, there's a big event there. So if you do have that background, you need to be there, okay?
And get yourself some boots.
I know. I need to get some boots like that. Well, on behalf of WWE and all of our partners, thank each and every one of you for being here today. I know
and
they really appreciate it.
Let's have a hand for our host.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys have been amazing. But it is now time to move on to the next and final portion of today's events. This is where you will go and meet and mingle with 40 different companies throughout Central Florida. So you'll have about 90 minutes to network, meet the recruiters, and we also have a photographer on hand to take some snazzy professional pictures that you can include in your LinkedIn profile. So that's where we're going to head right now. You're going to go follow Jamie Hopper, who will take you back there, and there will also be lunch and refreshments at Full Sail Live. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for letting me be your host, and good luck with your careers.
All right.